Hi guys, welcome to the channel of love and the journey of ascension. We are reading Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill and W. Clement Stone. We are on part 2, chapter 6. You've got a problem? That's good. So, you've got a problem. That's good. Why? Because repeated victories over your problems are the rungs on your ladder of success. With each victory, you grow in wisdom, stature, and experience. You become a better, bigger, more successful person each time you meet a problem and tackle and conquer it with PMA. Stop and think about it for a moment. Do you know of a single instance where any real achievement was made in your life or in the life of any person in history that was not due to a problem with which the individual was faced? Everyone has problems. This is because you and everything in the universe are in a constant process of change. Change is an inexorable natural law. What is important to you is that your success or failure to meet the challenges of change are dependent upon your mental attitude. You can direct your thoughts and control your emotions and thus regulate your attitude. You can choose whether your attitude will be positive or negative. You can decide whether you will affect, use, control, or harmonise with the changes in yourself and your environment. You can ordain your destiny. When you meet the challenges of change with PMA, you can intelligently solve each problem with which you are confronted. How do you meet a problem with PMA? If you know and believe the first principal element of a positive mental attitude, God is always a good God, then you can effectively use the following formula and meet your problems. When you are faced with a problem that needs a solution, regardless of how perplexing it may be, number 1, ask for divine guidance. Ask for help in finding the right solution. Number 2, engage in thinking time for the purpose of solving your problems. Remember that every adversity has a seed of an equivalent or greater benefit for those who have PMA. Number 3, state the problem, analyse and define it. Number 4, state to yourself enthusiastically, that's good. Number 5, ask yourself some specific questions such as A, what's good about it? B, how can I turn this adversity into a seed of equivalent or greater benefit? Or how can I turn this liability into a greater asset? Number 6, keep searching for answers to these questions until you find at least one answer that can work. Now, the problems that will confront you will, broadly speaking, be of 3 kinds: personal problems, emotional, financial, mental, moral, physical, family problems, and business or professional problems. Because personal problems are the most immediate problems experienced by all of us, we would like to tell you a story of a man who met some of the most severe problems a human being can experience. As you read this story, see how he applied PMA to the solution of each difficulty until he achieved ultimate victory. He met his challenge to change with PMA at Leavenworth Penitentiary. This man was born in poverty. While in grade school, he sold newspapers and shined shoes in and around the saloons on Seattle's waterfront to help his mother meet expenses. Later, he became a cabin boy on an Alaskan freighter during the summer months. After he finished high school at the age of 17, he left home. He became one of the horde of hobos that rode the rails and travelled to every part of the United States. His companions were hard-bitten men. He gambled, associated with riffraff, men of the so-called Border Legion, soldiers of fortune, fugitives, smugglers, cattle thieves, and the like were his companions. He joined the forces of Mancho Villa in Mexico. You can't skate close to those extra-legal operations without knowing about them, even if you have nothing to do with them, Charlie Ward said. My mistake was being with the wrong companions. My major sin was associating with people who were bad. From time to time, he won large sums gambling and then lost them. Finally, he was arrested for narcotic smuggling. He was tried and convicted. Yet throughout his life, Charlie Ward maintained his innocence of the charge on which he was convicted. Charlie Ward was 34 years old when he entered Leavenworth. He had never been in jail before, in spite of his associates, and he was embittered. He vowed that no prison was strong enough to hold him. He looked for a chance to make a break. Then something happened. Charlie chose to change his attitude from negative to positive. He met the challenge to change with PMA. Something within him told him to stop being hostile and to become the best prisoner in the prison. From that very moment, the entire tide of his life began to flow in the direction most favourable for him. By the simple change from negative to positive thinking, Charlie Ward began to master himself. He changed the direction of his aggressive personality. He forgave the federal agents who had brought him about his plight. He quit hating the judge who sentenced him. He took a real good look at Charlie Ward of the past, and he resolved to avoid the very appearance of evil in the future. He looked around for ways to make his stay in prison as pleasant as possible. First, he asked himself some questions, and for the first time in his adult life, he found his answer in books, particularly the book. In his prison cell, he began to read the Bible. He read it and reread it. Thereafter, and up to the date of his death at the age of 73, he read the Bible every day for inspiration, guidance, and help. Because of his changing attitude and consequently in behaviour, he began to attract favourable notice from the prison officials, and one day a convict clerk told him that a trustee in the power plant was to be released in 3 months. Charlie Ward knew little about electricity, but there were books on electricity in the prison library, so he studied. He learned what these books could teach him. At the end of 3 months, Charlie was ready. He applied for the job. Something about his mannerism and his tone of voice impressed the deputy warden. That something was the earnestness and sincerity of Charlie Ward's positive mental attitude. He got the job. Because he continued to study and work with PMA, Charlie Ward became superintendent of the prison power plant with 150 men under him. He tried to inspire each one of them to make the best of his situation. When Herbert Hughes Bigelow, president of Brown and Bigelow of St. Paul, Minnesota, arrived at Leavenworth on a conviction of income tax evasion, Charlie Ward also befriended him. In fact, he went out of his way to motivate Bigelow to adjust himself to his environment. Mr. Bigelow was so appreciative of Charlie's friendship and help that as his prison term approached its end, he told Charlie, "You have been good to me. When you get out, come to St. Paul. We will have a job for you." 5 weeks later, Charlie was released from prison and went to St. Paul, and as he had promised, Mr. Bigelow gave Charlie a job. He was given work as a labourer at $25 a week. Because Charlie worked with PMA, he became a foreman within 2 months. After a year, he became a superintendent. Finally, Charlie was made vice president and general manager. And when Mr. Bigelow died, Charlie was made president of Brown and Bigelow. He continued in this capacity until his own death many years later. Under Charlie's management, sales rose from less than $3 million to over $50 million annually. Brown and Bigelow became the largest company of its kind. Because of Ward's positive mental attitude and his desire to help those less fortunate, he himself received peace of mind, happiness, love, and the better things in life. By presidential decree, his rights as a citizen were restored in acknowledgement of his exemplary life. Those who knew him held him in the highest esteem and were themselves inspired to help others. Perhaps one of the most unusual and commendable activities was his employment of over 500 men and women who had come from prisons. They continued their rehabilitation under his stern and understanding guidance and inspiration. He never forgot that he too had been a convict. He wore a tag on his bracelet with his old prison number as a symbol. Charlie Ward had been sentenced to prison. That was good. Why? Who knows what might have become of Charlie Ward had he continued in the direction in which he was headed. But in prison, he met the challenge to change, and there he learned to use PMA to solve his personal problems. He made his world a better world to live in. he became a bigger and better man. No one will ever know the exact number of the needy who had prayed for blessings to Charlie Ward in response to their inner thoughts. I was naked and yet I was naked and ye clothed me. I was sick and ye visited me. I was in prison and ye came unto me. Fortunately, not everyone is faced with problems as severe as those with Charlie Ward was called upon to meet and solve. But there is a lesson in Charlie's story, in addition to the fact that he changed his attitude from negative to positive. You will recall Charlie himself said, "My greatest mistake was being with the wrong companions." Negative attitudes are often contagious, and bad habits are contagious. Let each of us look to our own associations. Let each of us look to our own associations and be certain to keep them on the highest possible level. One of the greatest services you can render to children is to motivate them to motivate themselves to select the right kind of friends and associates. Remember, vice is a monster of such awful men that to be hated needs but to be seen. Yet seen too oft, familiar with his face, we first endure, then pity, then embrace. We will leave it there, halfway through the chapter. I will talk to you guys soon. Until then, take care, much love. Bye for now.